Hello, you guys. Today I'm going to talk about how we can save downtown Minneapolis. Well, downtown Minneapolis really changed after COVID and the George Floyd riots. Um, Downtown Minneapolis is pretty much a bunch of outdated office buildings and maybe one or two apartments. Like I lived in when I was downtown Minneapolis, it's called West Downtown. And then there's another neighborhood next to me called East Downtown. East Downtown had a mix of apartments and office buildings because it was along the Mississippi River. So everyone kind of wanted to, like, everyone who wants to live in downtown wants to see nature. So a lot of people want to, if they're downtown residents, they want to live along the river. And East Downtown, we call that the Mill District. The new definition for it is called the Mill District because it used to be where all the mills used to be. But now, instead of it being scary abandoned warehouses, they're now like luxury apartments. So, and then the reason why they're doing so well is because they're along the river. Um, and that's a good thing because we want downtown Minneapolis to succeed because downtown Minneapolis it used to provide hundreds of employment opportunities to disabled people like me because all the public transportation in the first ring suburbs flow into downtown Minneapolis. And when you can't drive, you have to work where there's public transportation and where the public transportation takes you. Even St. Paul, a mega city in Minnesota, and is considered like a second ring suburb of downtown of Minneapolis, has public transportation to take people to Minneapolis. Even people living in the state capital need public transportation to take you to downtown Minneapolis because before COVID, that's where the job opportunities were. St. Paul's big, but they don't have enough jobs to support everyone who like lives there compared to what Minneapolis used to do. So then people from St. Paul would have to travel into downtown Minneapolis. It's just the way how Minnesota was developed by the baby boomers who built the state, after World War II. And then, so I lived in downtown West. And downtown West is between East Downtown Minneapolis / the Mill District and Laurie Park. Laurie Park is like on the west edge of downtown, and they get view of the highway, and like that goes around downtown, and they get view of Laurie Park. That view is beautiful because if you're staying in Laurie Park, you can see Laurie Park, and then like you can see over the highway and all the hundreds of single family homes in the distance. But I like the view of the river better because the river has at least walking trails along it and stuff. And it's, to me, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, that is a better view. But a lot of people still like the view of Laurie Park, and because it's a park, and if like you're above like the fourth floor of an apartment building along Laurie Park, you can see over the freeway, and then you can see all the single family homes on the other side of the freeway because the freeway wraps around downtown Minneapolis, and then and it acts like a great wall of downtown Minneapolis. So one side of the freeway you're in downtown, another side of the freeway you're north Minneapolis or south Minneapolis. It depends on what side you're going. So I call it the Great Wall of Minneapolis because not a lot of people like walking underneath a noisy highway to get to downtown. So it kind of deteriorates it kind of blocks a lot of the crime from coming into downtown Minneapolis. So that before, the riots happened. And now that Great Wall of Minneapolis isn't really doing so well to protect the city. So, I lived in I lived in downtown West, and downtown West is, it's, I call it like pure office buildings. Like I lived in LaSalle Apartments, and mine was attached. My building was literally attached to the LaSalle Plaza. So when like you left my building, you entered LaSalle Plaza shopping area, and then you could walk through the LaSalle's shopping area to get into the elevators that'll take you into the LaSalle Plaza, the office building. And then so my building, the LaSalle Apartments, was like, there was one more in that neighborhood, so there's like two. So my building was one out of two apartments in that neighborhood. So it used to be a very popular. My LaSalle Apartments used to be a very luxurious building, because where people used to pay over $2,000 a month to live in, because oh cool, I work in the LaSalle building, I could just walk out my building and boom, I'm at work. Or cool, I work in the IDS tower, I can leave my building, go up to the second floor, hop in the Skyway, walk through the Dayton building, and then boom, you're in the IDS. And so like, so my apartment building was built for office workers, who used to like go to work in the office. And then the other apartment buildings next to St. Thomas, because St. Thomas is in it was in downtown West, the Minneapolis location. So the other apartment was connected to St. Thomas. So so then like that was like 4 buildings south of me. So then college students going to St. Thomas could rent the building, the apartment units, and walk across the bridge into St. Thomas. So like when people before COVID, when people used to work in downtown, my building was luxury. Now that things have changed, and the world has to adjust to change, we can't just stay still and not adapt. Now my downtown West, where I used to live, is now not the best neighborhood, because everything's kind of gone, and Nicollet Mall only has 3 stores pretty much left: Target, Walgreens, and Dollar General. DGX means Dollar General Small. And that name always freaking irritates me, because why can they not just say Dollar General? But then the snobs of downtown Minneapolis, like, we can't have a Dollar General in our neighborhood. That's so low class. But now that Minneapolis is becoming a low class neighborhood, they can just say Dollar General. And then, like, who cares what those few rich people in downtown say? Downtown Minneapolis is not a high-end neighborhood anymore. At least downtown West. So just call it Dollar General, because you don't need to be high class anymore. So then, and then like we do have like a Boost Mobile, but they're only open like half the week. They're only open or like if they are open, if they can find staff, sometimes only 5 hours a day, because the Boost Mobile store is only really open when people are in that, like the Dayton building and the 801 building or the U.S. Bank building, but they're all kind of attached. They're now like they almost feel like one building. If people are not kind of like, a lot of people not there that day, so they sometimes close the store early, so that it's not, so that Boost Mobile, it's not always like reliable. So so there's not a lot of things in my neighborhood, but there's still a lot of restaurants. Like we have the Gay 90s, they're kind of like the Democrat gay bar. And then we have the Saloon, they're the Republican gay bar. And then, we have a straight person strip club. I think it's called the Rhino or something like that. I don't really know the name of it because I'm not into that shit. But it has a giant picture of a rhino. And then, and then there's Tom's Bar. Tom's Bar is more of like a clubby place, like slash sit down. You go there and you watch like your sports games. But it's not like a dancey kind of clubby thing. It's more like you drink and you cheer with other people and you talk to other people. So it's more like an old school. I call it a club because sometimes they do have like bands and stuff that go there, but they're more like rock kind of bands, or they're not. It's more like a baby boomer kind of club. Where like you just sit and you talk and you chat and blah blah. But it's called Tom's Watch Bar. So we still have like restaurants in like downtown West. So if like you are like, and then we have Crave, I like Crave. Crave is more like the family friendly restaurant on the street. We do, so like, so we do still have restaurants, but because of all the people that live in the like Loring Park or stuff, they'll walk over, and everyone in downtown like wants their family to come see them. And when their family comes see them, of course, we take them out to the restaurants that we still do have. And then of course a lot of restaurants did close because definitely the ones the ones on the street are doing better. The ones on the ground street that people can see as they're driving by or taking the buses. But the restaurants in the Skyway that were pretty much funded by office workers are starting to disappear. So how do we stop at least the downtown West neighborhood / downtown? Because once downtown West dies, the virus will spread. Because then the people causing trouble in my neighborhood will go to that neighborhood, and then that spreads to a different neighborhood, and suddenly it's in the first ring suburbs where I live now, and then it just spreads like a freaking virus. Look what happened with Detroit, Michigan. Once Detroit fell, and Ann Arbor fell, and then like a suburb of Detroit, and then Flint, Michigan fell, and that was a suburb of Detroit, and then it spread like a virus, and now that whole state of Michigan's becoming like a death curse, because after Detroit fell, everything around Michigan started to die, and then that even affected Chicago, and so then more of the Midwest has started to die, and we need to stop the spread. We need to stop Minneapolis and Minnesota from becoming like a Detroit. So the first thing we need to do is we need to build more housing in downtown Minneapolis. So the first thing that these office building owners need to do is they're not going to attract baby boomers who want to live in their suburbs, drink their overpriced tea, waste their money on gas, mowing their lawns to make it perfect. You're not going to target that audience. The audience that you're going to target is Generation Z. People like my younger brother, who are is 19 and needing a place to live. Because baby boomers are messing up our country and not building enough apartment buildings for millennials and Generation Z to live in. And what I'm talking about is millennials and Generation Zs, most of us are single. We don't have kids because we don't have money. And we need someplace to live. So what downtown Minneapolis buildings owners can do is okay, we have this huge millennial generation. We have this huge Generation Z generation that need housing because baby boomers won't build them any out in the suburbs. And if we are trying, baby boomers keep holding us up. We can't wait anymore because these people are getting older and they need housing now. And we're not going to let these baby boomers make these Generation Z and millennials suffer anymore. So then what they can do is because a lot of Generation Z and millennials are single. The younger ones. The older ones are starting to get hooked up and starting to get kids and stuff now, because they're living with their parents, and their parents are letting them raise grandkids in their houses and stuff. So older millennials are getting their stuff together, but us younger millennials and Generation Z, we need someplace to live, you know? So these office buildings, towers in downtown, they can be like, okay, we have this big empty tower. All these people need someplace to live. And it doesn't help that we have like millions of immigrants coming into our country, and they all need places to live. Office building owners in downtown Minneapolis should be seeing them as cash cows, because they all need someplace to live. So then what happens, and a lot of them are Generation Z and millennials. So easier to market. So then what they can do is they can turn these office buildings that people don't really need anymore, because we have Zoom, we have Microsoft Teams, we have Google Meet, we have Apple FaceTime. Even Facebook is making the Meta Quest, where people can put on their face and pretend to be in a meeting. We don't need office buildings anymore. So what these office buildings owners can do, they can turn their office buildings into 1-bedroom and studio apartments. And the reason why they need to be 1-bedroom and studio apartments are so they can fit more people into their buildings and make more get more renter revenue or residential revenue for less money. So if they can fit 1,000 young people in one building, they can maybe make a profit with only charging people $800 a month in rent, or $850 a month in rent for, a studio, and maybe $1,200 for a 1-bedroom, because you're only giving people 500 square feet, you're only giving people 600 square feet, or you're only giving people 1,000 square feet, and then you're building hundreds of these in these old big office towers. You can fit thousands of young people into one office building. And then we can fit thousands of young people into one office building. What's going to happen is you're going to make as much money from residential renters as you would from office building renters or office space renters that are outdated. And then your building can be full. And the good thing is, like big office buildings in downtown Minneapolis, like the IDS Tower, they have a huge parking garage underneath. And then what you can do is you can offer those parking spots to your residents above by saying, hey, everyone has an option to rent a parking spot for example, $150 a month. And if you don't want these parking spots, we won't charge you for them. But if you want each spot you want, we're going to charge you $150 for. And then for people like my brother Caleb, who loves to drive, he and his girlfriend can both pay $150 for each spot, and then they can keep on driving. And for people like me who are visually impaired, who can't drive, I don't have to pay for a spot. So that everyone who's in downtown and living in these new office buildings who can drive, they can still have their parking. And then for people who live in these office buildings who don't drive, like me, I wish I could drive, but I can't because I'm visually impaired, I don't get my parking. So then my people like my brother Caleb are happy because he gets his parking. And I am happy because I don't get my parking and I still get someplace to live around $850 to $950 a month. And then with these skyways systems in downtown, they can, instead of putting like restaurants in them, they can put something like a Planet Fitness. Like, for example, like there's a big open spot in the LaSalle Plaza where a restaurant used to be because of office workers. Instead of keeping that restaurant spot open, that restaurant spot is so big that's open, they can put a Planet Fitness in there. So then the people who are living now in their buildings can also use Planet Fitness that they put in the Skyway. So now the building owners are getting rent from the residents of the building, and they're getting rent from Planet Fitness that the young people in the building are using. Does that kind of make sense? So then now you're making money in the Skyway because you're putting businesses like Planet Fitness in the Skyway, and then you're also getting money from the renters in the upper part of the building. Because if I had endless money, I would buy the LaSalle Plaza. That's my favorite building in downtown Minneapolis. That's why I chose. At first, I kind of hated it. I just chose it because it was close to Nordstrom Rack, where originally Play was planning to work before they closed. I chose it because it was better than a lot of other apartments in the downtown area. It was a good price compared to other apartments in the downtown area. And I love the look, the feel, the ancient wood feel of the LaSalle Plaza lobby. I didn't like the LaSalle apartments did not really pull me in because there's no fitness center, there's no gym, there's no, community. There's a community room, but it doesn't really have a bathroom. So if like you want to have a birthday party there or whatever, there's no place really for your guests to like use the bathroom. It's not like a fancy apartment. But what I didn't mind about living in the LaSalle apartment was the LaSalle Plaza made it really wonderful because I could walk upstairs. I could go to the coffee shop they have up in LaSalle Plaza. There's like a noodle place, like reminds me of a Chipotle up there. I could take the Skyway Monday through Friday to Target, to shopping at Target, even when it's blizzard outside. And then I could walk back. But I used to have to go through to get to Target, the 801 building, right? The Skyway system in the 801 building was dead. Because the only people who were making money in that 801 building was the daycare on the first floor and the post office on the first floor. And above the Skyway system there was the Reticent Inn Hotel, and I think they were doing okay. Because I always see people coming in and out of the hotel, so I'm assuming they were doing okay. But the area between the hotel and the post office and the daycare downstairs was not doing okay. And every time I walked through that 801 building, I'm like, this would be a good spot to put a gym. If they put, instead of having all these closed restaurants just sitting here doing nothing and wasting money and wasting space, if they just took all these old restaurants inside this building, bulldoze them away, and put a Planet Fitness here, and then they put like a sign on the outside building, like right by the main door by the post office, because like the post office is right by the main door, and that's why the post office is so busy, because everyone can see it. And they put a big sign right above the main door, said Planet Fitness on level 2. All these people that live in downtown who are minimum wage workers like me would easily take the Skyway during the week or take the street and then walk up and easily go to Planet Fitness. You mean? But the issue is all these baby boomers who control downtown Minneapolis are like, oh no, Planet Fitness isn't classy. Well, downtown Minneapolis isn't a classy place anymore. If you want a classy place, you go to St. Louis Park, you go to Edina, you go to Wayzata, you go to Plymouth, you go to Maple Grove, you go to Bloomington. Those are classy places because if you're paying $2,000 in rent, the Mall of America is right next to your unit in Bloomington. If you're paying around $2,000 rent in St. Louis Park, there's a major strip mall right there. If you're paying over $2,000 a month in Edina, there is the Southdale Mall and all the high-end strip malls around Southdale Mall right there. If you're staying in Wayzata, you have the Richdale Mall, and you can just walk out your door and Richdale's right there. You mean that's in Plymouth? You have the Plymouth. It's not really a big shopping town, but they have multi-million-dollar homes there, or next to parks and trails, and they have the Wayzata High School. That's like rich for families, and that's classy. Downtown Maple Grove has a lot of apartments for seniors, and to live in, and it's less than a mile to walk to the mall. You mean? That is fancy. Downtown Minneapolis anymore is outdated, it's old, it needs upgrades. So if you're a business owner and you put a Planet Fitness in your building, that's an update, and that's better than no business. And then young people like me who are living in downtown Minneapolis, we would go to your building and go to the Planet Fitness. So, you mean? And then so that was a good area to put a Planet Fitness. And every time I'm taking the Skyway, I'm like, oh, this could be a dental office. This could be a clinic. They can have Fairview, put a clinic here. They could have a lineup, put a clinic here. Or they could have, you know what I mean? So these office buildings need to turn into apartments. And then they need to put everyday people stuff in the Skyway. The one thing I wished that when I was living in the LaSalle Plaza that I had was a gym. So if Snap Fitness came in and took over the old Capital One grill spot and said, oh cool, we're going to add some treadmills and all that stuff, I would have easily signed up for that membership. And the LaSalle Plaza also had a Lifetime. But the Lifetime wasn't like a normal Lifetime. It was a co-working space for people who lived in downtown, worked from home. They could go someplace. And that always ticked me off because of that Lifetime in downtown Minneapolis said, okay, we're no longer becoming a co-working space. We're becoming like a Lifetime that you can find out in the suburbs that has a swimming pool, exercise equipment, and all that stuff. I would applied for that gym like crazy. So, and then in the Skyway systems in downtown, they need to put haircut places, low end ones, sports clips. You mean they need to put dentist offices. They need to put chiropractors. They need to put nail salons. They need to put let me see, phone stores T-Mobile, AT&T, banks. Be lucky the IDS Tower is putting a lot of banks in their building, on the second floor, because if you want residents to live in downtown and they need to get a check or something, they need to go to a bank. And that kind of stuff. And so then you put the everyday stuff that people need in the Skyway after you turn your office buildings into apartment buildings. And then what you do is on Nicollet Mall, all those abandoned storefronts on the street, that's where you put your restaurants. So the old Nordstrom Rack can become a McDonald's. The old Marshalls can become a Wendy's. And then the old Apple store could become a Culver's. You know what I mean? And then what you do is, and then you put all like your fast food stuff on Nicollet Mall on the first level. So when people like me are when we're going from Columbia Heights to Bloomington, for example, to see my friend, because all the buses go down Nicollet Mall. I can get off my bus, get me and my friend some Culver's, hop on the D bus, and go down to Bloomington. And then when I show up, me and my friend can eat the Culver's, have a good day in Bloomington. I can take the bus back. Okay, now it's 5 hours later. I'm hungry again. Stop by McDonald's, hop on the bus, and then take the bus home. You mean? So if you start putting people in your office buildings, you put like the gyms, the dentist office, the nail salons, the chiropractors, and all that in the Skyway. So then the people who are living in those buildings can just go down out of their apartment into the Skyway, get their stuff, do their thing, and then go back up into the apartment building above the Skyway. And then the people who are traveling through downtown Minneapolis, like me, like for example, going through Nicollet Mall, because that's where all the buses go and exchange. I can go and then eat on the ground level of Nicollet Mall without needing to go all the way into the building. Because I'm sorry, I stop by Five Guys a lot on Nicollet Mall, and my favorite Planet Smoothie place on Nicollet Mall, because they're on the ground level. I can just walk in there, walk into the building, walk into the restaurant I want, order my food, get my food, walk out of there, walk out the building's main door, and just head straight to the bus. If Five Guys and Planet Smoothie were on the Skyway system, I wouldn't eat there because I don't want to go all the way into the building, all the way up the escalator, all the way down the hall, grab the food, all the way back down the hall, back down the escalator, and then out the door, and then hop on the bus. So if all the food options were kind of on, like where Crave and stuff were kind of on the first floor, it'll make people like me that are going through downtown Minneapolis better because I can go just walk in, grab the food, and walk out. Well, the residents who are living in downtown Minneapolis in the old office buildings, because their apartment is above the Skyway system, when they leave their apartment, the first level they do is hit the Skyway system. So then they can shop, like, the Skyway system will become like their ground floor. And then they can shop at, like, they can go to their Planet Fitness, go to their eye doctor, go to their dentist, all right there in the Skyway system. And then when they're done, they can just walk right into their building and then boop, go right above the Skyway system. So the first ground floor of all these buildings need to be for like restaurants and stuff. So people like me who are just traveling through downtown or just visiting can just walk into a restaurant, eat, walk out, and go home. While the Skyway system needs to become more like the strip mall. So then everyone living in the old office towers in downtown Minneapolis can just pretty much walk out, shop in the Skyway, and then walk up and back into their buildings. And for them, it feels like a strip mall. So if downtown does this kind of stuff, it will actually stay downtown. And then you need to put, once they convert these into apartment buildings, they need to push these ads on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. They need to make lots of YouTube Shorts. So then, YouTube is the number one website they should focus on. It's like make videos about the apartments. Hey, this is now the new IDS apartment, and this is what comes with our units, and blah blah blah. We have a daycare on the first floor. We have a nail salon on the first floor. And on the second floor, we have Wendy's. And come to our building. And look at our building comes with parking. And it's optional when you come and move in. And you mean, and then like what you do is you make these long YouTube videos and then you chop them up into little shorts and then you post them on YouTube Shorts, you post them on Instagram, you post them on Snapchat, and then you post them on TikTok until TikTok gets banned. And then after that, then no matter what site they kind of go, these young people, you're pushing marketing towards them. And then they're like, cool, Mom, Dad, I want to check out this cool building. And then they show up, they show up to the new IDS apartments. And they look around, or the new LaSalle Plaza apartments. And they look around and they're like, oh, cool, look at this. They have a Planet Fitness here. They have a dentist here. They have an Vision Works here. And they have my cell phone carrier, AT&T, yay! And they have my bank. And then look at Mom and Dad, it comes with parking, and if I want it, and then the next thing you know, they're interested, and next thing you know, you have 500, 600 Generation Zs and millennials young millennials like me, moving into your building. So the reason why I moved out of downtown West was because I felt like there's all this skyway space that no one's taken advantage of. I complained to these office buildings on Instagram. I literally tagged the IDS tower saying, hey, that'd be nice if the Nordstrom Rack turned to, a daycare. And and then a lot of parents in downtown would like it. And then I would say, hey, I'll tell the city center, and I'll tag them on Twitter and stuff. Hey, that'd be nice if the old Marshall store was turned into a Culver's. And then I would go eat there and blah, blah, blah. Even the office tower people don't respond. I didn't expect them to respond because, they own the person who owns city center probably owns 30 other buildings. But even the Dayton project, I told them hey, maybe turn the first floor into a food court full of African American food and whatever. No changes. Not even a response back oh yeah, we're talking the city and blah blah blah. It just felt like downtown the building owners in downtown Minneapolis want the city to fail. They want the city to fail because instead, it's you own the building. You don't have to you have to go to Mayor Jake Fry and ask for the patents, right? Hey, can we add kitchen here or blah blah blah, right? You have to go ask for the patents, but you don't have to Mayor Jake Fry, please tell us what to do. No, you own this building, make damn money, and to make damn money, you have to take the initiative to say, okay, we own this building, young people need places to live, let's do this shit. And then you go to the banks and you say, hey banks, look at this many people in this generation need housing. We have this many homeless people in downtown Minneapolis that are living in tents in South Minneapolis because they're working and they can't find a house to stay in. And you show that statistics to the bank. And if we build housing like this with rents anywhere between $850 a month and $1,200, all these people that are working and need a place to live, they can afford our unit and move in. And then we'll make money. And then once they're here, they'll need a place like Planet Fitness to work out at during the winter. And then we can put someplace like a Planet Fitness in the skyway system of this building. And then we're getting money from the Planet Fitness. We're getting money from the apartment units. And then we can pay you back the loan. And also, you can also tell them, as long as baby boomers are alive, there's not that many apartments coming up in the suburbs. So these young people are going to be forced to move into these buildings, because if baby boomers in the suburbs don't build anything, they're going to have nowhere to live. But us. So because we're going to be their only options, because the baby boomers out in the suburbs are not building them any housing, they're going to force to live here. So no matter what, if they like it or not, we're going to get customers. So then, so then you can tell that to the bank. And then the bank, can give you the loan because there is proof to be profits. And then because you have to think long term. And then boom, downtown Minneapolis is saved. People are gonna come down and visit their friends. People like me are going through downtown Minneapolis will eat at all the new restaurants on Nicollet Mall, even if they're fast food, because I'm addicted to make fast food. You know what I mean? And a bunch of thousands of other people, because this is America. You know what I mean? And then people can live in the buildings and they'll invite their friends, and they're now, next thing you know, their friends are like visiting downtown, eating at all the restaurants on the first level. You mean it's all this opportunity like when I come out here to Columbia Heights is old building, knock it down, put an apartment, or put a mom and pop business there. You mean it's Columbia Heights? There's an old there's an old Sleep Number building that's been knocked down because now Sleep Number has a bigger building in Blaine. So so the city literally has a poster on the construction site saying, "What do you want us to do with this building?" And I told the city of Columbia Heights, put a damn community center there because the city needs a damn community center. And I put it on Twitter and Instagram, but does the city respond? No. If the city actually wants young people's input, they will put a community center there that has a walk-in, like a all-seasons gym, a walking track, an indoor playground, because Columbia Heights is a kid-friendly area, and it'll be nice to play, have kids someplace warm to play in the winter. And if there's room, maybe a community pool. And then that community center will definitely make money because all the people living in Minneapolis who don't have access to a swimming pool and stuff would actually take the bus to downtown Minneapolis, hop on the 10 bus, and come, boom, right to the Columbia Heights Community Center and spend all their hard-earned money at the Columbia Heights Community Center. And our community center here in Columbia Heights, because it'll be right on the bus line, will make a shit ton of money like the one in Maple Grove does. And then we can use that money to invest in other parts of the city. So that's how I would fix downtown Minneapolis. And each city has, and the people in that city has to do something to improve their city. Now I live here in Columbia Heights. Downtown Minneapolis isn't my problem anymore. As long as I keep that issue out from downtown Minneapolis out of my city, I'm good. I'm now a Columbia Heights resident. I'm focused on all my spare energy in improving Columbia Heights. But before my old lease ends, and I'm still considered half downtown Minneapolis resident, I just wanted to say my last piece. I hope you guys have a good day. Bye-bye.